Welcome everybody to the Crystal Crypt. This is where we dive deep into the Hollow Earth theory, or should I say the Hollow Earth facts. Now, if you're not aware of this channel, the Crystal Crypt, and what we do here, we are miners. And I ain't talking about buying beer or cigarettes or going to the club. I'm talking mineral miners. We mine for minerals, for gems. We mine for crystals, gold, diamonds. We are real life Minecraft connoisseurs. For you see, the crystals held deep down in the belly, the underbelly of our Mother Earth, hold many secrets. They hold many vibrations. They are our elders. And we will be mining the information from the web, from the internet, from the collective unconscious, just as we mine gems and minerals to sift through all the dirt and the bullshit and the fake news and the lies. We're gonna sift all of those things, and we're going to figure out the truth. So let's go. Let's take a deep dive inside the Hollow Earth. Make sure the music is as quiet as possible. Alrighty. Okay. How's it going, everybody? It is crypt number 455. We don't even know how many crypts there have been, because there have been so many crypts that the YouTube Jannies, the janitors of YouTube, have deleted. So, forgetting all of that is in the past. We must move forward. We must move forward and upwards. Forward and upwards. Forward and upwards. Forward and upwards. We must go forward and upwards. And that we shall. Let's take a little brief picture pause, right? We're gonna look at some pictures of the Hollow Earth. In case you haven't known, we've got these paintings and other drawings of the Hollow Earth. Of course, NASA still has not provided us with an actual picture of Earth from space. I wonder why. Could there be a black sun within our own planet that is generating the electromagnetic field that is around our beautiful Earth? Because if you remember, mainstream scientists tells you that if you heat up a magnet, superheat metal, because metal is magnetic, some metal is magnetic. If you heat it up to the point where it loses its atomic cohesion, where the atoms and the lattices start breaking down, it will no longer be magnetic. Now, can somebody please explain to me, how is it possible that if the Earth, as we are taught, the Earth has a molten iron core, iron, it's molten, it's melted, it's superheated, it's like liquid almost, and that is apparently the center of our Earth? Oh, okay, they're Bill Nye. Tell me, Mr. Einstein, Bill Nye, how does a superheated super metal iron core and nickel core create a giant magnetic field around Earth? In fact, we can pull this up here, magnetic field around Earth, right? There is no way that a super hot piece of metal can do this, okay? It destroys their own physics. So, what's going on inside the Earth, you might ask? Oh, it is definitely a black sun, an inner sun. I don't know exactly what it looks like. Maybe it's pure electric. Maybe it's purely magnetic. I don't know what's going on down there, but the Hollow Earth is where we came from, and it is where we shall return. along with the Third Reich and all the other motherfuckers who were chilling out there. Let's go ahead and take a look. Thanks for everybody who's donating lemons on DLive. I greatly appreciate your support. What a cool bunch of dudes over on DLive. On YouTube, we have all of our based motherfuckers. We got Doug DeGrave, Buried Axeblade, The Trash Man, Sent North, how's it going? Adam, Squawk 7700, Elementary, My Dear Anglo. And of course, we have Radness of Aaron C, Pat Jenkins, DB Coop himself, the one and only DB Coop, and Radness, very based. My cat has already escaped. As soon as we start talking about Hollow Earth, he wants to show up, so I guess my cat is here as well. And on DLive, Meow Meow, Hickorean, Black Eagle, how's it going? Revelations. Let's see who else. I believe we had Young Groiper up in here. What's up, Young Groiper? Long time no see. Got to get you on the show. We'll work on that, Mr. Young Groiper. Let's talk about Hollow Earth. All right, so make sure that's low enough so y'all can hear me. The greatest geographical discovery in history made by Admiral Richard E. Byrd in the mysterious lands beyond the poles. Now, do you know who Admiral Byrd is? Let's take a little deep dive into him. Admiral Byrd. Can we trust him? He looks like a bird. He is a white male. Looks honest, but then again, he was in the Naval Intelligence Operations, so maybe we can't trust him. But from everything that I've seen about him, he is a good man, a good European man, a man of high character, and therefore I will trust him. Okay, so Hollow Earth, to the future explorers of the new world that exists beyond the North and South Poles and the hollow interior of Earth. Who will repeat Admiral Byrd's historic flight for 1,700 miles beyond the North Pole and that of his expedition for 2,300 miles beyond the South Pole, entering a new unknown territory that is not shown on any map, covering an immense land area whose total size is larger than all of North America, which consists of forests, mountains, lakes, vegetation, and animal life. So the aviator who will be the first to reach this new territory unknown until Admiral Byrd first discovered it will go down in history as a new Columbus and greater than Columbus. For while Columbus discovered a new continent, he will discover a new world. Very interesting. We have a bunch of different chapters here. Flying saucers, propulsion, and relativity. Let's go ahead and click on that because you know we're going to talk about Nazi UFOs. We're going to talk about the German Nordic Pleiadian Alliance versus the reptilian, gray alien, Subterranean Jewish alliance that exists on this earth today and which is manipulating the consciousness prison which we are all kept under, versus the ones who wanted or still want to free us from this prison. So here we go. Solve the UFO propulsion problem and you open the whole universe to man. For the past few years, we have been visited by large numbers of foreign spacecraft. Actually, these visits probably have been occurring for a long time. Geological long times. These are called epochs, eons, ages. I'm talking hundreds of millions of years. Some 300,000, some 800,000, some 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 million year chunks of time that we know in geology. However, in 1947 or shortly before, the number of visits rose sharply. So what happened around or before 1947 which caused the incredible explosion of UFO, flying saucer, all these different alien visitations? What happened around or during 1947? I'll tell you what happened. In 1945, does that year ring a bell for anybody? We had 3 atomic bombs dropped. We had one in New Mexico or Nevada, the Trinity testing site. The first test atomic bomb was dropped in America. The second one was, of course, on Hiroshima, Japan. Killed 80,000 people instantly. And then, of course, the third was Nagasaki. That was the 3 big ones that happened in 1945. And rest assured, America started testing the shit out of these new weapons, these atomic bombs. 1946, 1947, they were dropping them in Nevada. They were dropping them in the Bikini Atolls down in the Pacific, middle of the Pacific. We were dropping many, many, many atomic weapons. Okay? So, these UFO spacecraft started appearing just about that time. Just about that time. Thanks again for the lemons. DB Coop, Black Eagle. I appreciate your lemons. Black Eagle, 2 lemons. You guys are all based. Trash Man talking shit on D Live. Based. Trash Janny cleaning up the scum. This guy's going off in D Live. If you guys aren't subscribed to my D Live, it is dlive.tv/Stevie_champagne. Stevie is STEVE. I fucked it up. STEVIE. Stevie_champagne. So, thanks everybody for watching. This is my first restream video in a long time. I got no copyrights. I just wanted to talk about Hollow Earth. Let's do an hour. How long have we been going on? We've been going on for about 15 minutes. We can do an hour and a half of some deep dives. So, over the past few years, observers have watched the craft perform acrobatic maneuvers of an astonishing nature. Apparently, most of the saucers do not depend on any propulsion familiar to our science, Argoians, or at least familiar to us until recently. Only a very few have been reported with propellers, and while some have reaction motors, either jets or pure rockets, many, he says not some, but many do not even have these. Indeed, the typical flying saucer floats above the earth with no visible means of support, and then dashes off at a truly breathtaking speed to some other part of the globe, or, for my flatoids in the chat, another part of the plane. Honestly, if the earth is flat, if it's a globe, whatever you believe in, as long as we are getting to the truth. Come on. The lack of any known propulsion system capable of such effects has led many persons to speculate that the owners of the saucers have managed to master the physics of gravitation. Okay, so anti-gravity. So look at this. Here are a couple of strange things about UFOs. Now, if any of you have seen UFOs, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. When the flying saucers accelerate from 0 to many thousands of miles per hour in a few seconds, why isn't their internal machinery torn apart and crew members squashed? Anyone who has taken a curve at too high of a speed knows that the persistent tendency of his vehicles to continue along the original line of motion against the force of his tires and steering mechanisms. Similarly, when a flying saucer makes a sudden turn, traveling many thousands of miles an hour or even seconds, why don't the molecules or crystals of its metallic structure tear apart? The actual crystal lattices of the metal tearing apart. Because the laws of inertia says that's what should happen. And finally, as the saucers rush through the atmosphere, why don't the molecules of the atmosphere striking against the saucer cause heat through friction and eventually burn the object up? So, it's these incredible and strange questions that have led many people to believe that the saucers are not real. Material objects cannot behave this way. This is a fact. They cannot behave this way. The saucers then must just be moving balls of light, optical illusion, mirage, diffraction pattern, atmospheric lens, or to PFOs, ghosts or spirits. Ghosts or spirits. The head of Air Force Intelligence remarked rather wistfully after the Great Washington Airport sighting some years ago that we don't have anything with infinite mass and infinite energy, no mass. So, basically, saucers don't do anything that we do. They create their own hyperspace bubble. If you could refer this page here. If you look at this image here, imagine the human standing inside is a UFO. A little UFO is right here, and it generates its own magnetic field. It generates its own electrical pulses. And through the combination of these two things, it allows the spacecraft to stay in a bubble of sorts. It's in a bubble created by its own electromagnetic field, which allows it to travel seamlessly. It doesn't even travel through our atmosphere. It travels in its own little bubble, and the bubble travels within our bubble. So there's no friction going on between the outer shell of its force field, if you want to call it that, and our atmosphere and our other shit. So basically, it's fucking based. How is it done? Not so sure. But we're going to figure it out. Let's keep on going. Hollow Earth. What does all this have to do with Hollow Earth? Alright, let's go back to contents. Let's see if we have anything cool over here. Here's a nice little old school website from the 90s, it looks like. World top secret, our Earth is hollow. Located at 84.84 degrees north and south latitude are polar openings that lead into the hollow interior of our planet, where the lost 10 tribes of Israel today dwell in perfect harmony, with lifespans equal to those of the Methuselahs of the Bible. Now, the lost 10 tribes of Israel, do you know what those are? There's only 2 tribes that aren't lost. The tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah. Now, if we are to take this into account, it would almost seem like the battle between Gentiles and Jews today are the Jews and the white Europeans and the white Americans and other all-white people on the earth. It seems like it may be a feud or a quarrel between the tribes of Judah, which we all know, and us, the tribe of Benjamin, the most blessed of God's tribes. He loved Benjamin the most. Benjamin was his kid. It was his tribe. It was his guy. So it does make sense that the jealous brother of Benjamin, Judah wants to destroy Benjamin. He wants to destroy the Europeans. Now, the 10 of the rest are in the hollow earth. We're chilling. Their only desire is to live in peace. Their flying saucers in defense of their country at times are seen on our surface world. They don't come to destroy. They are waiting for us to discover that world peace is the only answer, not without God, but with him. Yeah, listen, first of all, this world peace shit, not gonna happen. Violence, conflict, I think, is a natural part of our universe. So I think there might be some things here that is I think that's a bullshit thing. So, see the evidence, look at the possibilities, consider those who have gone there, and you will discover truths that have been hidden from the foundation of humanity. Do we want to enter? Do we want to enter in through the south opening? Aw, shit, more metaphors. This isn't a suppository. It's the South Polesatory. Oh, it's this guy. Okay, I think we've already seen this one here. Virtual City of Lights. Run Adobe Flash. Let's see if Flash doesn't destroy my computer. Okay, this is all super old school. City Charter. Okay, so this is all a little bit too schizo. Let's go ahead and watch some cool shit, huh? How about this? Let's see if we can find any cool shit about Hollow Earth. yeah. Big ass holes in the bottom and the top of this planet. Shit. Why not? That's horrible. That explained nothing, but it had nice music. Steven Sindoni is an independent Hollow Earth researcher and a seeker of truth. Hello, fellow seeker of truth. From an early age, he has been an avid reader and spent most of his time in a New York public library learning about American history, ancient civilizations, religions, and Greek mythology. Steven's research, Hollow Earth. I've read from different channeled messages about Hollow Earth and the much more advanced Inner Earth civilization of Agharta. It is fascinating to read his detailed research. Do I have to buy a book? I'm going to have to buy a book on this website, aren't I? Yeah, I'm going to have to fucking buy a book, aren't I? It feels very, like I need to buy a book. But anyway, what is this? Antarctica Secrets Revealed, Aliens Among Us. By the way, guys, this is February 24th, 2012. This is before 12/21/12. 12/21/12 is when our realities changed and when everything went kaputs. So, Webflix guy, I'm going to subscribe to him because he looks like an interesting person. More people dislike this video than like it, so I'm sure we're in for a surprise. Let's go ahead and click on it. Antarctica Secrets Revealed. Biblical Joseph, thanks for following UndiLive. Hollow Earth entrances right here. And you know what? This is New Schwabenland. If you look at this, so right here, I'm using the mouse. This little tip of Antarctica connects right to South America, okay? So over here is going to be South Africa. It's closer to this tip, and this tip is all Pacific Ocean. So South America, Africa, South Africa, and then the Pacific Ocean's on this side. Now, when the Nazis went down for their Antarctic expeditions, New Schwabenland was right about here. This is now called Queen Maud's Land. I think it's owned by Norway. This little chunk right here, this little protruding chunk. So all this was New Schwabenland, Nazi Germany outposts. And if we can see, the Hollow Earth entrances are supposedly right here, which does coincide with the map of the Nazis. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see what kind of bullshit they tell us now. There's no audio. Okay, yeah. So here we go. Southern Ocean. Check this out. Hollow Earth entrances are supposedly right here. This is called Queen Maud's Land. This is where all the Rothschild Islands are, up on this island chain here. There is the tip of Chile, South America. The Ross Sea is over here. We don't really care about the bottom portion. And the South Pole, the geographical South Pole is here, but is the geomagnetic pole slightly over here? Let's take a look. I'm interested to see if there's any sort of volume on this thing, because there isn't. Maybe that is why. Oh yeah, it looks like he was probably his volume was destroyed because he had a copyrighted video. Interesting. He had a copyrighted video. Let's see if we can type these in. Let's see if we can do some latitude, longitude research. Okay. Latitude, longitude finder. Let's check this out, you guys. Okay, I'm going to do... Okay. Oh, this is not gonna work. Okay, let long. Okay, here we go. Okay, then we have longitude. Converts. Invalid format of longitude and latitude. Okay, I don't think we need the numbers. I don't think we need the letters as well. Okay, how do I properly do this? I don't think this is gonna work because fucking Jews and whatnot, but latitude. What's going on, man? 66 degrees. I'm just gonna try that. How about that? 66 degrees. And then this one's gonna be 99 degrees. How about that? Still doesn't work. Okay, so 66 is all you get. 99 is all you get, you fuck. Okay. I give up. Document has inspired. Okay. Longitude and latitude. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna keep trying this until I figure it out, guys. Okay. Let's get GPS coordinates. Fuck! Oh, okay, here we go. DMS latitude, south. Okay. 66, 36, 14, got 70. Oh, I think we got it here. Okay, longitude east, 99, 43, 11.11. Ooh, a nice little synchronicity. Oh, you motherfucker. Oh, come on. How hard is it to find a fucking... I need some help from the comments. What are the comments saying? Per starts sweating. Shit. Everyone's tripping out. What's up, Goomba? How's Goomba going? Hey, Snowy Days, Driftwood, Trashman Classic. Everybody's coming out here. What's up? We're trying to figure out how to get into Hollow Earth, but in fact, I don't think we're gonna find it. Okay, yeah, this video has been scrubbed. This video has been totally scrubbed. Okay. More. What else does this guy have? Everybody loves a mystery. Photo gallery. Let's check out your photos, Mr. Nope, no photos. Oh, there are some photos. Don't really want to see them. Let's check out Atlantis. Oh, karaoke night? What the fuck? This shit's normy as fuck. I need to get some real shit right here. I need to get some real Hollow Earth shit going on. Okay. Let's do conclusion of the Hollow Earth from Bibliotheca Pleiades. Alright, so from the evidence contained in this book, confirmed by many Arctic explorers who we cite, we come to the following conclusions. There is really no North or South Pole. Where they are supposed to exist, there are really wide openings to the Hollow Earth interior. Flying saucers come from the hollow interior of the Earth through these polar openings. The hollow interior of the Earth, warmed by its central sun, which is the source of northern lights, has an ideal subtropical climate of about 76 degrees in temperature, neither too hot nor cold. Arctic explorers found the temperature to rise as they traveled far north. They found more open seas. They found animals traveling north in winter, seeking food and warmth, when they should have gone south. They found the compass needle to assume a vertical position instead of a horizontal one, and to become extremely eccentric. They saw tropical birds and more animal life the further north they went. They saw butterflies, mosquitoes, and other insects in the extreme north, when they were not found until one is as far south as Canada and Alaska. They found the snow discolored by colored pollen and black dust, which became worse the farther north they went. There is a large population inhabiting the inner concave surface of the Earth's crust, composing a civilization far in advance of our own in its scientific achievements, which probably descended from the sunken continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. Flying saucers are only one of their many achievements. It would be to our advantage to contact these elder brothers of the human race, learn from them, and receive their advice and aid. So, did super beings from space ever visit Earth? Classical writers report so. Now, remember that before the collapse of the Bronze Age collapse, the BAC, there has been a lot of speculation as to how the human mind changed after this event. Plato, Aristotle, all these great thinkers and all these ancient thinkers, they believed that the voices in their head, right? The voice in their head, when you talk, when you think, I'm assuming all of you guys aren't NPCs and you actually have inner dialogue in your head. They assumed that this was from the gods. It was from the things around them, from nature, from the frequencies that were that were happening around them. So, after the Bronze Age collapse, it seems like this almost natural telepathic ability also collapsed about 3,000-4,000 years ago. And what happened after this is that people became more single-minded instead of double-minded, where there's two hemispheres. It became single-minded, very focused on the ego, very focused on material possessions, and they totally forgot or just threw away the spiritual aspects of our human existence. So, is there evidence? Is there evidence of this shit? Alright? Each age interprets unusual events in the language of its own experience. Whether it be Ezekiel describing sky objects in the symbology of angels and precious jewels, or Monk Lawrence in 776 marveling at flaming shields from heaven, spitting fire at the Saxons besieging Sigeberg, or modern men speculating the unidentified flying objects are of extraterrestrial origin. So that's us, that's me. I've seen multiple flying objects. Are they extraterrestrial? I don't know. Are they us from the future? Are they demons or angels? We don't know. We're trying to figure this thing out. I'm just reading you guys' comments. Freaking based. TR3B says, let's be real. If these secret underworld civilizations are real, they probably want to kill us all. Okay, then why don't they do it? Listen, I'm a surface dweller, and I think that literally most people alive should be severely curtailed, or at least re-educated. There's too many people. There's too much weak genetics and polluted genetics on this planet. And it's not good. It's not good for our civilization. It's not good for our communities. It's not good for anybody. So, I don't know. Maybe the surface people want to kill us all. But I think that if you prove yourself worthy, and able to handle these truths and revelations, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to us. I'm sure I'm going to die some sort of gruesome death from coronavirus. But honestly, I don't even really care about that. I am trying to figure out shit. So, For more than 2,000 years, it was recorded by nearly all the greatest intellects of Greece and Rome, although most of the records of antiquity have been destroyed. In the surviving classics, there is ample evidence of UFOs and probable ET intervention. Our theologians dismiss the ancient gods as anthropomorphisms of natural forces, as if entire races for hundreds of years would base their daily lives on lightning and thunderbolts. Yet logic suggests that the old gods of Egypt, Greece, Rome, Scandinavia, and Mexico were not disembodied spirits or anthropomorphic symbolisms, but actual spacemen from the skies or from the inside of our planet. It seems after the great catastrophes remembered in legends, the gods withdrew. Whether you want to call them fallen angels, the 1/3 of angels that fell with Lucifer and fucked all the humans, the human women, whatever you want to call them, they all left seemingly in the thousands of years ago. We can't talk to them anymore. After the BAC, after the Bronze Age collapse, very little of this remains in our history. So the gods withdrew, and henceforth they've been content merely to survey the earth, except for an occasional intervention in human affairs, like our politicians. Are they human? I don't think so. Are they based Pleiadians? I don't think so. Are they reptilians who need to be reptilianized? Probably. Apollodorus wrote, "Sky was the first who ruled over the entire world, surely signifying domination by space beings. The Roman Emperor Julian vowed, we must believe that on this world certain gods alighted." This is the Roman Empire, the Emperor Julian. This is a top dog, bro. And he was looking at the state of civilization and history, how it was around 2,000-3,000 years ago. And he was looking back in time, even further. For him, it was like 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. We must believe that on this earth there were things that were not human, and they walked among us. They were not our current human form 1v1. They were something else. Now, who was they? What were they? And do they pose a danger to us? We must find out. Anyway, all we need to do is examine the data. I agree. Examine the data. Let's move on to Agharta, the subterranean world. Now, who is this? Dr. R.W. Bernard. Who is this? Who is this guy, and can we trust him? Is he a Jew, or is he a based Walter Siegmeister? Uh-oh. He's an early 20th century alternative health, esoteric writer, and mystic who formed part of the alternative reality subculture. He was born into a family of Russian Jews. Well, that kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. Kind of sucks that he's Jewish, but what can you do? The word Agharta is of Buddhist origin. It refers to the subterranean world or empire in whose existence all true Buddhists fervently believe. Okay, then Shambhala. Shambhala and Agharta. Okay. I don't even want to read this shit anymore. Fuck this motherfucker. Quetzalcoatl is described as having been a man of good appearance and grave countenance with a white skin and beard, dressed in a long flowing white garment. He's also called Humac. He taught the Indians the way of virtue and tried to save them from vice by giving them laws and counsel to restrain them from lust and to practice chastity. He taught pacifism and condemned violence in all forms. He instituted a vegetarian diet with corn as a principal food, taught fasting and body hygiene. Shit. After remaining some time with the Indians, Quetzalcoatl, and after he saw how little they cared to follow his teachings except his recommendation to plant and eat corn, Quetzalcoatl departed, telling them that someday he would return. That this visitor from heaven left the same way in which he came, on a flying saucer, is indicated by the following facts. When Cortez invaded Mexico, the Emperor Montezuma believed that the predicted return of Quetzalcoatl had occurred, because a fireball then gyrated over Mexico City, making the people wail and scream, and setting the temple of the war god on fire. The fireball was believed to have been the flying saucer in which Quetzalcoatl traveled. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Osiris was another such subterranean god, according to Donnelly in his book. The gods of the ancients were the rulers of Atlantis and members of a superhuman race which governed the human race. Before the destruction of their continent, which they foresaw, they traveled by saucer through the polar opening to the subterranean world in the hollow interior of the earth, where they have continued to ever live since. Fascinating. The empire of Agharta, wrote Ossendowski in his book Beast, Men, and God, extends through subterranean tunnels to all parts of the world. In this book, he speaks of a vast network of tunnels constructed by a prehistoric race of remotest antiquity, which passed under both oceans and continents, through which swift-moving vehicles traveled. The empire of which Ossendowski speaks of, and concerning which he learned about from the lamas in the Far East during his travels in Mongolia, obviously consists of subterranean cities inside the Earth's crust, which should be different from the ones in its hollow center. Now, hollow Earth, honeycomb Earth, I think both of these beliefs they are able to be combined and work together with. So, fascinating shit. Well, let's take a look at this video that Black Eagle has posted. Let's see if we can find.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We can find something about this.
Of Leak Project. I'm your host Rex Bear, and we have Joseph Reyna with us, the author of Incredulous. And this guy knows so much about prophecy.
All right, you know what? Fuck that shit. Let's read this instead. So, check this out. Here is a Gab link posted by Black Eagle. You should follow this guy. This guy knows so many things. Hello, I'm not gonna sign up. Whoa, easy. Oh, I gotta sign up? No, I don't. Let's take a look. So, this is part one of my favorite threads about the lost city of Atlantis. I'm going to start with a quote about the lost city. Look how nice that looks. Pretty Kino. Underwater temples, gods, statues. Very, very based. So, this power came forth from out of the Atlantic Ocean, for in those days the Atlantic was navigable, and there was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Hercules. If you don't know what the Pillars of Hercules are, the Rock of Gibraltar, which is over in Spain, owned by the British, the giant rock, and on the other side there's a little mountain. It's not a little mountain, it's a big mountain, and these two giant rocks were called the Pillars of Hercules, because after the Pillars of Hercules was a dangerous path to make. It was the open Atlantic Ocean, and not many, if anybody at all, made that journey. The island was larger than Libya and Asia put together, and was the way to the other islands, and from these you might pass to the whole of the opposite continent which surrounded the true ocean. So perhaps all of this shit was Atlantis, you dig? For this sea which is within the Straits of Hercules is only a harbor, having a narrow entrance, but other than that is called a real sea, and the surrounding land may be most truly called a boundless continent. Yes, so here's a topographical map. This is all water. We can see some sort of juttings out. We have one here, here, and here. Very fascinating. Now this is the Pillars of Hercules right here. This is the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Mediterranean. Now, in this island of Atlantis, there was a great and wonderful empire which had rule over the entire island and several more, and over other parts of the continent, and furthermore, the men of Atlantis had subjected the parts of Libya within the columns of Hercules as far as Egypt, and of Europe as far as Tyrannia, wherever that is. This vast power, gathered into one, endeavored to subdue at a blow our country and yours and the whole of and the whole of the region within the straits. And then Solon, your country shone forth in the excellence of her virtue and strength among all mankind. Virtue and strength. The two things that they teach you in school, they teach you in media, they teach you in TV. You must be virtuous, you must be strong, you must be smart, you must be a warrior, you must not be afraid. No, they teach you that white people bad, you must feel ashamed, you must feel guilty, you have to be weak, you have to drink soy, you have to be a pussy, you have to be dumb, don't read all those old ancient white people, they didn't know shit. The future is brown. Now, why do I bring this up? Because, first of all, the future has always been brown. There's a fucking billion brown savages in the whole world. So this doesn't apply to them. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about our people. Forget all that shit. What we have to remember as a European race is Atlantis is the virtue and the honor that made Atlantis great again. All right, forget America great again. Let's make Atlantis great again. Let's remember why Atlantis was great and start being great, my nibbas. She was preeminent in courage and military skill and was a leader of the Hellenes, and when the rest fell off of her, being compelled to stand alone after having undergone the very extremity of danger, she defeated and triumphed over the invaders. There's a lot of invaders, and yet she triumphed. Oops. Preserved from slavery from the... So, afterwards there were violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune, all of your warlike men in a body sank into the earth, and the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. For which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there was a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island. Atlantis was created when the god Poseidon fell in love with a mortal girl named Cleito. Poseidon created a dwelling at the top of a hill near the middle of Atlantis, and surrounding the dwelling with rings of hot and cold water and land to protect her. Based simp. Alright, so they give birth to twins, 5 sets of twins. Atlas, he became the first king. Okay, the rest of Atlantis was divided among his brothers. In reality, Poseidon had a son with Cleito, and his name was Noah. Noah married a demigoddess by the name of Lilith, and they had 3 daughters. The temple of Poseidon was built to honor him, which houses a giant gold statue of him riding a chariot pulled by winged horses. It's here for the rulers to discuss laws, pass judgments, and pay tribute to Poseidon. Poseidon and all the other gods and goddesses mated with mortals called Cro-Magnons from a planet called Nibiru, giving birth to the Aryan race. Our race has Rh negative blood, which is untraceable from Earth. Ah, that face when you have Rh positive blood. Why couldn't I have Rh negative blood? Come on. I guess I'm not Aryan enough. I will have to die of coronavirus while you Aryans survive. For the longest time, the Atlanteans obeyed God and his laws, but they started to become corrupt. They became materialistic. They started wars with the Mediterraneans and Egyptians, and God did not like that. He told them to stop, but they refused. Lastly, they got into a huge war with another people called Lemurians, another white race, which lived on an island in the Pacific called Lemuria, known as Mu. I'll get into the Atlantean-Lemurian wars and what it was like when the islands were sinking in another thread. But for now, back to the story of Atlantis. God was very angry with Atlanteans, so he sunk their island. The last part of Atlantis, called Poseidon, is sunk 12,000 years ago. What remained of the Atlantean race spread all around the world, creating every single civilization we know of, Egypt being the biggest one. Yes, very, very curious. All of the Atlantean secrets are hidden under either the Great Pyramids of the Sphinx. Atlantis is said to rise again now. The pyramids, why so important? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they have the secrets, my mans. Every 3,600 years, we leave and enter a new time period on the zodiac timeline. We just entered the sign of Taurus not too long ago. When Atlantis sunk, they entered into a new zodiac time period, which caused an asteroid to hit and a pole shift to happen. Could we see Atlantis rise in our lifetimes? I believe we will. And also, we've already entered Aquarius, or we are entering Aquarius. Okay. Very cool. Very fascinating read there. Very nice. Very based. And very awesome. Let's see if we can get some more from the search. Buscador. Let's go Atlantis. Atlantis. No, not on this. Not on this. Atlantis. Atlantis. Atlantis Biblioteca. There we go. La Atlantida. Atlantis. Very good. So, advanced ancient civilizations are a big topic of interest among researchers, historians, archaeologists, and scientists. Okay, so Atlantis. If you start talking about the lost ancient city of Atlantis, most NPCs will probably begin to think that you're living in La La Land, and many people are unaware that this city has been seriously studied for hundreds of years. For example, we can see that it was a subject of significant importance for researchers at the Smithsonian Blifblonian. After a long period of disdainful indifference, observe how in the last few years science is returning to the study of Atlantis. How many naturalists, geologists, zoologists, or botanists are asking one another today whether Plato has not transmitted to us with slight amplification a page from the actual history of mankind? No affirmation is yet permissible, but it seems more and more evident that a vast region, continental or made up of great islands, has collapsed west of the Pillars of Hercules, other called the Strait of Gibraltar, and it happened 12 to 15,000 years ago, just at the same time that we've had giant asteroids melt all of the water, all of the ice that was trapped in the Laurentide and the North American ice sheets, where I am sitting right now. This spot was covered by maybe a mile and a half or 2 miles of straight up ice. This very spot that I'm sitting on, 2 miles of ice, only 14,000 years ago, it was already starting to melt. So all of this shit melted in one day, like it says, and Atlantis sank in one day. I wonder if it's possible that rising sea levels, because remember, sea levels were 400 feet below our current sea levels 13,000 years ago. So what happens when all that sea level started rising and destroyed Atlantis? And reorganize the coastlines of literally every continent on the world. It really makes a Goy think. It really makes him think deep and hard. Deep and long. Very strange. But in any event, the question of Atlantis is placed before men of science, and since I do not believe that it can ever be solved without the aid of oceanography, I've thought it natural to discuss here. Blah blah blah. Plato's description of Atlantis. Okay. I don't agree with the reshot structure. The reshot structure was not the same. The Great Flood of Noah. Yeah, absolutely. Snowy Days. The Great Flood of Noah is a big connection to this because, the story of the Noah's Ark and how people still, dude, Noah lived to be like 600 years old. This was antediluvian. This was before all this crazy shit happened. I personally think that the Adam and Eve story describes Atlantis, but I think the Noah's Ark story is describing a secondary flood that happened around that time. I mean, we're talking the beginning of history. The last 10,000 years is all we know of from as humans. All that we really know of from humans. It's even less, like 6 to 8,000 years is all we really know because of tools and shit. Before then, everything that was before 10, 12, 14,000 years ago has been wiped out completely because it's all underwater now. So there's definitely a lot of interesting shit. Anyway, Atlantis was massive, ruled by multiple kings who all had control over the land. Their relationships with the other kings was governed by an original code of ethics that was engraved by the first 10 kings. The chief laws of these kings of Atlantis were that they should not take up arms against each other, and that they should come to the assistance of any of their number who was attacked. So, how did it downfall? The downfall of Atlantis is maybe the most important thing, because we can always learn from history. Why is our current civilization in a downfall? You, me, everybody who's watching this right now. Our civilization is in a downfall of tremendous speeds. It's happening daily in front of our eyes. The spiritual bankruptcy, the degeneracy, the fucking drag queens, and all this shit is just evil manifesting itself in the absence of good. We are being flooded. We're being metaphorically flooded with evil into our civilization, into our societies, into our homes. Why? Well, let's find out. Maybe we can learn something from Atlantis. He described it as a great and powerful empire, almost magical, and said that this was the same empire which attacked the Hellenic state. So, America, right? The Western civilization. It's a great and powerful empire, almost magical to the savages who inhabit our lands now. It is magical. Oh my God, running water, indoor plumbing, good infrastructure, nice concrete roads. I mean, we live in a magical time. Not as magical as Atlantis, don't get me wrong. These motherfuckers move stones with their minds. They use crystals for power, bro. We're like a cheap knockoff. Western civilization is like a cheap knockoff of what Atlantis used to be. He attributes the power and the glory that they tasted. Mwah. We attack people. We have power. We have glory. They get filled with power and glory. Yes, and they want more. So he wrote that the love for these ego-driven desires that soon developed among Atlantean kings lured them from the pathway of wisdom and virtue. The pathway of wisdom, virtue, the search of truth versus the battle of egotistic, look at me, I am the best, and I will destroy you. That is the difference here. Filled with false ambition, the rulers of Atlantis determined to conquer the gods into his holy habitation. Okay, so let's see. That a violent cataclysm sank the continents. Oh, that's right. A violent cataclysm by the name of Younger Dryas? The Younger Dryas, about 12,000 to 911,000 years before today, was a return to glacial conditions. Very interesting. Very interesting situation that happened here from 15 to 10,000 years ago. Over a period of 3 to 4,000 years, the temperature of the Earth went from super hot to super cold and back to normal. Now, what could cause something like that? Oh, I don't know. A giant super hot meteor hitting the fucking Earth. Boom. Super hot. There's fucking ash in the air. Everything's super heated, right? The air temperature is hot. The ice melts. Now, all these clouds don't allow the sun to warm up the Earth for a couple hundred years or whatever. The Earth gets super cold. Very, very cold once again. We enter back into a new ice age. A mini ice age this time. Nothing like it used to be. So now we are actually living in a mini ice age right now. This is the warm part. The last 10,000 years of our history on Earth has been a warm part. It's an ice age, but it's a warm part. Usually it's way colder. Way more water is trapped into the ice, and there's more shit going along, on Atlantis and shit. But right now, all the ice is melting. We're living in a little bit of a warmer part. That's where we are right now. So, a technologically sophisticated but morally bankrupt evil empire, America. You could even say America instead of Atlantis. A technologically sophisticated but morally bankrupt evil empire, Atlantis, attempts world domination by force. So who rules America? Zionists, which I'm assuming also hijacked Atlantis. Atlantis was pure Aryans, and the Zionists, They hijacked the government, and now look at America. We're the biggest empire, and we're trying to take it all over by force. The only thing that's standing in its way is a relatively small group of spiritually pure, morally principled, and incorruptible people. The ancient Athenians! The memers, the 4chan people, the ones who create memes, the ones who spread truth, uncorrupted, morally principled. Fuck e-thoughts. Fuck, LGBT shit. Fuck all that shit. We are morally pure. We have the power. We have the crystal energy needed to fight off the Zionists who have hijacked our Atlantis government. Overcoming overwhelming odds. That's right, white guy, white boy. Overwhelming odds. We have everything done. You're being demographically replaced. You're being taxed to death. Your countries are in total ruin. There's total anarchy. You can't overcome these odds. These Athenians are able to defeat their far more powerful adversity simply through the force of their spirit. Sound familiar? You can't kill our memes. We will... I'm not going to say the word, but we will erase you with our memes like Thanos. I've never watched the movie, but apparently he snaps in his glove full of gems. Boom. You just got crystal owned. You just got destroyed. That's what we're going to do. Anyway, who's this? Manly P. Hall?
The problem of Atlantis.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and pause
there are
that.
a number of points that have not been generally considered. We think of Atlantis as an island, probably somewhere in the Atlantic, and probably about in the location of the present Azores Islands. But actually,
Azor.
Atlantis was a diffusion. If you buy a map now of the world as it is today, we can say that that is the modern distribution. But to have a map of Atlantis as it was in the time of its glory, you would have to have a map of the entire planet, because it was a distribution. Continents rose and fell, islands came up and went down, great land shifts occurred, and the Atlantic distribution of land was far more important and far more far-reaching than the mere problem of an island somewhere in the ocean. So we have to think of Atlantis in relationship to a complete pattern of the planet. As Plato clearly points out, the island of Poseidonis, which we now think of as Atlantis, was the last fragment of a great empire. It is the last surviving part, and is supposed to have disappeared under the ocean about 12,000 years before the Trojan War, which would make it about 15,000 years ago. Now, in connection with the problem of Atlantis, I think the next thing we have to study is the name. Plato refers to the mysterious empire as Atlantis. He probably received this name, or secured it, from Solon, who in turn had received it from the priests of the Egyptian temple at Sais. Now, the word Atlantis, or its root, is not Egyptian, and it is not Greek. No one seems to be able to trace the origin of the name. It appears on two very important phases of ancient mythology, Atlantis and Atlas. And the root is ATL, Atal. Now, if we look to find a language in which that word or that root is permissible or was used, we find you'd have to come to the Western Hemisphere, because Atal was one of the month names of the Mayas. It also has more than just a name significance. Its glyph, or its symbol, is a deluge. This seems then to give us the real basis of our word, that we are dealing with a term that represents a world experience, that various countries were involved in it, that the circumstances were known around the entire planet, and that the name that has survived to us today is probably based upon the records on the Western Hemisphere. Now, if we take the general term to represent this mysterious region, we then can find from the Codex Troano, which is in the museum in Madrid, one of the surviving documents of the Mayas, that this particular deluge is marked in the glyphs of the people. The story is told in pictures, but among these pictures there is one in which the sky dragon, or the sky serpent, is pouring water from its mouth, and below this the god of death is dancing on the earth. Now, this was a long time ago,
307
long before the coming of the Spaniards, but the records even go much further than that.
171.
According to the Chinese, the previous existence before our present coming to this earth was destroyed. The previous world was destroyed by water, a tremendous deluge. And in the I Ching, the 8 trigrams, basic trigrams, correspond to Noah and his wife, their 3 sons and their 3 wives, were the 8 who were saved. And this is exactly what the Chinese tell us. So the story goes around here and there and everywhere. It's a very interesting story, but what does it really mean? Is it merely an archaeological curiosity, or does it have some dynamic value for us today? I would like to think of Atlantis much as Lord Bacon did in his book, The New Atlantis, in which he says in very simple terms, the new Atlantis, which is America. Bacon was quite convinced that on the Western Hemisphere,
so the same exact fate that happened to Atlantis will happen to America. Great famines, great earthquakes, destruction, tsunamis, floods, and eventually the destruction of all of us. So, yeah. Considering that there's a solar flip happening, I believe in 2046, we got about 30 years left. Maybe no, it's actually 26 years left. About 20 years left. That seems like a normal, that seems like a good guess for how long we have left in this current society, this current model of economics. About more or less 20 years before all of this shit breaks down. I don't see it lasting 40 years, 50 years. No. We've got about 26, 30 years left, and that's it, man. That's pretty much it. And it's nothing really to be afraid of. Yeah, dying is kind of scary, but Atlantis, the greatest civilization known in prehistory, happened. The same thing happened to them. They let Zionists infiltrate their kingdoms, and the degeneration of society went down. I mean, look how degenerated our society is. We're well on the path of destruction. I don't know how to tell you guys, but it's gonna happen. And maybe it's pretty interesting to learn from Atlantis. I don't know what kind of cool crystals they had or buildings, but whatever mistakes they made, we are making right now. And America is the new Atlantis. So, let's keep on listening.
a great empire would arise, an empire that would surpass the glory of the Atlantean story, and that this new world would not be destroyed. It would not turn against the gods. It would not misuse the energies of nature, and as a result would become a new world, a restoration of the Golden Age. Now, when we study this Atlantean problem a little more carefully, we realize there have been a number of speculations on this. Vice President Dawes made quite an extensive search for the Atlantean world. A number of good archaeologists and ethnologists have devoted time to it. And the general attitude is no longer to discard it as a fable, but to try to find out what its actual meaning could be. Now let us suppose that Solon was correct, and that Solon, being an old man, was unable to do what he had intended to do, and that was to write out an account of the lost Atlantis as he found it, or it was given to him, in the caves under the Temple of Sais in Egypt. Here on columns formed of orichalcum, a metal that cannot perish, was recorded the story of a lost world. These two tablets are sometimes referred to as the Tables of Enoch, and we find a great deal of mystical lore surrounding this story. In any event, Solon, being very old and unable to carry on the work, passed the legend on to one of his descendants who was a student of Plato's. And this student, in turn, told Plato, who took the story, to use it as a great symbolical account of the descent of man. Now, Plato does not deny that the story is literally true, but he does point out so many very subtle and unusual details that we are forced to realize that he embellished it to represent the entire story of the planet Earth and its development. According to Plato, at a remote time, the gods of high Olympus distributed the world to their various sub-deities, and to Poseidon was given the lands of the sea, the great oceans, the islands, the archipelagos. And Poseidon created his kingdom in the oceans, and he created a wonderful city called the City of the Golden Gate. And in this city there was the temple to him. And in this temple were the tablets containing the laws of life, the laws that must be obeyed if man is to survive and to enjoy the favors of the gods. And the Atlantic Empire consisted of 7 islands. These 7 islands also occur in the Mexican story. These islands came together to form a league. And this league, in turn, created a kind of empire. And in the course of ages, the princes of the islands of the Atlantides became very proud. They decided that they would conquer the world. So in order to achieve this great end, they decided to send expeditions of conquest over all the other parts of the then Atlantean distribution. Now this distribution at that time consisted, much as it does today, of countries of various degrees of development. It was not an uninhabited world. The Atlanteans were not the only people. But these other people were comparatively primitive. They were like the natives of Africa or the natives of some...
So yes, there were non-whites in Atlantis, but they were primitive, my bros. I mean, shit, they were primitive like they are today. I mean, shit, come on, what you want me to say? These savage tribes that we gave electricity and shit to existed, my brothers. They existed.
Polynesian area, or perhaps the natives of some distant islands of the South Pacific. They were primitive people, but they existed. And the Atlantean merchants went to them, traded with them, and bartered with them. Plato states definitely that Atlantis had a great mercantile, that it traveled to all parts of the world, that it even visited Europe and as far south as South America. But gradually this empire grew more and more proud. Gradually fame, wealth, and power became the great objectives for life.
Fame, wealth, and power.
And there was another dimension. These peoples possessed extrasensory perceptions
Telepath.
that had not yet been
Remote
closed
viewing.
by the process of embodiment.
Crystals
They were
and
like
shit.
the extrasensory perceptions of small children, in whom faculties are partly active, which are now dormant in our racial groups. So in any way, these magicians, these sorcerers, these powerful ones who possessed vril being the one motive power that is inexhaustible,
Vril.
something we
Ether
could use
energy.
today.
Tesla's energy.
That
Infinite
would,
supply.
carry anything, transport
Infinite
anything,
supply. That's where
activate
memes
anything
come from.
that the human being
If you make memes, you're a Vril master.
could conceive. And so in their pride, these princes decided, near the end of their time, to invade what is now Europe. They decided to invade in the areas of the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Near East. So they sent great fleets to conquer these countries. In the meantime, the deities, particularly Poseidon, realizing what was occurring, gave warnings and sent prophets and told these people they were destroying themselves, but they were proud and they gave no mind or no thought.
We ain't destroying ourselves, shit. We ain't destroying ourselves, shit. It's everybody else that's doing it. It's time for us, Vril Masters, Supreme, ancient sons of the Aryans, sons of the Hyperboreans, sons of the Atlanteans, to start upping our meme game, to start upping our spiritual game, our moral game, our physical game. We must become ultimate human beings. We gotta practice remote viewing. We have to practice praying. We have to practice spirituality. We have to get in tune with nature. We have to get in tune with other humans. We have to reassert ourselves as the top of the hierarchy where we belong. No more guilt. Stop feeling guilt. You're a fucking son of Atlantis, bro. No guilt. Stop the guilt and start a remote viewing. Ya motherfucker.
To consequence. And finally, they rebelled against the gods. And the gods reacted accordingly.
And don't rebel
in
against
a single
God.
night, the great center of Atlantean culture, the island of Posidonis, the last surviving fragment of an ancient order of life, disappeared under the ocean, and according to the Maya calendar, carried with it to death 60 million human beings. This was the
6
end
gorillion.
of a great cycle of misuses and abuses in which those powers, forces, and principles which had been intended to be of common good to all mankind were perverted and in one way or another turned against the will of heaven, and in consequence they were destroyed. Now this also causes us to have another little interlude here, which I think we should give a thought to. We are told by Plato and several other historians of the time that various agencies, various merchants, travelers, explorers from Atlantis visited other lands. And among those who visited other lands were the priests of the Atlanteans, those who worshipped the great golden serpent. Serpent worship was one of the oldest religions of the world.
Serpent
Now
worship.
these various missionaries, shall we say, went to primitive people, as we send missionaries today to underprivileged or gradually evolving groups. And these missionaries set up various institutions in the distant parts of the empire, the parts that were not actually destroyed by the destruction of the Atlantean centerland. Now, it seems to me, and I realize that this is hypothetical, but it seems to me that this explains a series of legends and myths which are of interest. We are told, for example, that the people of Chaldea and Babylonia were very primitive, that they had not yet discovered the use of fire, that they did not know how to cook food, they did not know how to keep records, they had
fire,
no medicine,
no wheel, no food, no records.
knowledge. They had no laws to live by and no governments except tribal
Fucking
communes.
stupid-ass tribal savages.
And in the midst of all this time, while they were living along the shores of the sea, one day something strange happened. A being came out of the sea. This being, whom they called Oannes, had the body of a fish and the head of a human being,
Hey, it's me.
and wore on his
I'm
head
Fish Head, man.
the head of a fish on end. If you see the old pictures, you realize that his hat was what we call today a mitre,
A miter.
which
Oh,
is
shit.
practically exactly the shape of a fish's head.
The Pope wears a fish
And
hat.
this man who came out of the sea had scales. Now, scales could very well represent armor.
Reptilians.
He carried symbols with him,
Symbols.
and he was a good man.
Bloods.
And he came to these people, and he taught them. He gave them a written language. He gave them the knowledge of agriculture. He taught them astronomy and the mystery of the stars. He helped them to build a permanent government, introduced them into the mysteries of architecture and the building of cities.
Mason.
And he also
cathedrals.
taught them the mysteries of heaven and the ways of the gods, and taught them to live in obedience. And he told them that in due time he would return. And then he went back to the sea,
I will
promising
return,
to come back
motherfuckers.
one of these days, sometime in the future. And he walked out into the sea and disappeared. Now this seems to me to be a veiled story, could be a veiled story, of an Atlantean traveler, a missionary perhaps, who came to these people very much as the Chaldeans coming along the coast of Brittany and France gave them the beginnings of the culture of the Druids. This one who came out of the sea, he dressed in armor, probably came on a ship, which came over the horizon and was regarded as evidence that he came out of the sea. The most important thing, I think, in this legend is that he promised to return. So they waited.
Return, motherfuckers.
And they kept his laws and they kept his rules for years, but he never came back.
Oh, shit.
Now, on the opposite side of the world, something else was happening.
My bad.
The people of Central America were living in a very primitive state. Some of them were cannibals. They had no homes except rude huts.
Oi, oi, me no español, me no speaky English. It's me, South American Indios. Yo, 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 bros. Ese chingo homie, manzana mañana de los arriba. Hey, let's go sacrifice like 70,000 people, skulls, little babies on the pyramids. Hey, man. Yeah, man, those fucking white people built those pyramids for us. Let's go sacrifice 100 million fucking kids because we're fucking demonically possessed Indios. Yeah. Ganja, cholo, manzana. Hey, how you doing? ¿Cómo estás?
They had no instruments except cuts, cut from stone. They did not know how to cook their food. They had no written language and no way of recording their history, no knowledge of any of these things. And while they lived in this primitive condition, a strange thing happened. An old man came to them, riding on the back of serpents.
Oh!
And he came to the shore, and he was welcomed by them.
Whoa!
And his name is preserved in the three great languages of the central culture of the period and time and place.
What's his name?
To the Aztecs, he was Kukulkan.
Kukulkan!
To the ones who lived around Palenque, he was Wotan.
Wotan!
And to the Mayas, he was Quetzalcoatl,
Quetzalcoatl!
the feathered serpent. And this man came from the sea with a bonnet of wonderful plumes, almost like wings. And on his breast he carried a cross. He came to them, and they received him with regard and esteem.
I have the cross. I have
And
the
he taught them all the things that Oannes had taught the Chaldeans. He helped them to establish a permanent way of life. He gave them the beginnings of a written language, the only written language in the Western Hemisphere.
Boom.
He gave them good
He was
government.
white. Government.
And then he said, now I go away.
Now I go away.
But keep the rules that I have given you.
Repeat the rules, you fucking stupid
And in due
Indians.
time, I will return.
You
and
Aztec
claim the
bloodthirsty
empire.
bastards.
But in the meantime,
Just listen to what I have told you. I have given you the gifts of knowledge, of wisdom, technology, agriculture. My friends, my little goblin, oh Dios mío friends, all you must do is stop killing babies and stop eating each other, and you shall be like white people. You shall be like the race of Aryans. But no, let's hear the rest of the story. What did these ungrateful little savages do? Let's hear the rest of the story.
obey the principles I have taught. And these principles were of very high quality morally and ethically. Then this being went to the shores of the sea. And as he stood there, he said to the people that had assembled that a very bad power was coming to them. Tezcatlipoca,
Very,
the
very
god
bad.
of war,
Very bad.
was going to come from the south to destroy their empire. They should be true, however. They should keep the rules, and then he would return. Then there are two accounts of what happened to him. One that he called to the sea, and the raft of serpents returned. The raft of serpents could well have been a ship, with the very animal heads and so forth
They
that
can't
were
take me back because you
engraved and written
motherfuckers
or
wouldn't
painted
listen.
or carved on the heads of ships. The other explanation is that he was transfigured and rose to become immortalized and deified in the planet Venus. He said, I will come back. But he never came. And when the Spaniards arrived, many centuries later,
Hello,
and
Espanol.
their
I
ships were
speak
anchored,
it.
the Aztec Emperor Montezuma took the plumes on the crowns, took all the symbols of regality, and sent them by ambassador to Cortez, saying that he was Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, give me that gold, you stupid
and that
Indians.
therefore
Give me that
he was
gold, you
returning the
stupid
kingdom
Indians.
which his people had kept trustworthy for ages. Now, these stories are interesting. There's nothing you can do but remember these strange stories. The same story exists in China. In China,
Oh, China hero.
the world's reformation, the restoration of humanity, was the result of a mysterious being who came out of a fish's mouth
Oh, Confucius say.
and rising out of the sea
Oh,
taught them
hero,
the secrets of life.
Oh,
In India, Vishnu, in his first incarnation, is born from the fish's mouth.
I am Vishnu, hero.
Everywhere the sea was the source of instruction.
Hero.
Something came from the sea. We can't dogmatize what it is, but it is interesting that at a remote period, certainly 8,000 or 10,000 years ago, if not more, doctrines and concepts and beliefs reached all parts of the world and are still reserved and preserved in all the mythologies, legends, and allegories of ancient peoples, and were recognized as the ultimate source of civilization. Now, if these were
All from Atlantis.
missionaries,
All
travelers,
from white people.
philanthropists from the Atlantean Empire, they might have wished to come back. They might have said that they would, or that others would follow. And then came the deluge.
The
The center of the
deluge.
great
The
wheel was
great
destroyed.
flood.
No one could come back. Little by little, these peoples in different areas modified their beliefs. Interracial minglings
They
brought
modified
about
'em.
complications
Race
of
mixing.
stories concerning the descent of knowledge.
They started race mixing
Here
with the
in
savages.
In the southwest of the United
Told you
States,
not to do that.
they have the legends that originally humanity lived under the earth. And a deluge came under the earth. And this deluge threatened the life of everything that lived. So
You fucking
humanity crawled up
stupid
or
tribal
climbed
people.
up
I
to
told
this
you not to
upper
race
world
mix.
upon cornstalks and began to populate the earth, and the point where they came out of the earth is still sacred to the Navajo and the Hopi. Years ago, I had the privilege of bringing to California temporarily as my guest one of the last of the great sand painters of the Navajo, Austin Clark. A few weeks ago, when I was in Sedona, in Arizona, I mentioned Claw, and everyone knew who he was.
Who is this guy
One of the
talking
greatest
about,
men of his
eh?
time, an Indian, and a remarkable person. At that time, when he was up there, we had just published our large book, and I wanted him to see it. He spoke no English. He had no idea of what the book was about. So I turned to the plate of the Table of Hermes, just in passing along through the book. You'll
The
find it if
Tablet
you
of
have it.
Hermes. We're
And
back,
the old Indian
motherfuckers.
stopped
Listen,
right there.
I'm gonna pause this shit real quick and give
was
you guys some
Chaldean.
real fucking advice right here. So, basically, I'm gonna try to do something cool about this. I'm gonna do a cool stream about this, but basically, it's an experiment that was done in the 70s and 80s. If you pretend that you are a reincarnated version of like Napoleon or Hermes, even if you just pretend, even if you just put that in your mind as like, you know, a fucking joke, it actually fucking works. It's called the Rainkopf effect. You should look it up. It's some Russian scientist. His name is Rainkopf, and he did this shit, and it's true and it works. So if you want to learn more, go into a deep meditative state and pretend that you are fucking Alexander the Great. If that you are whoever these creatures are, whoever these people are, Hermes, the king of Atlantis. And you will learn crazy shit. But I am going to shut down the stream here. I'm gonna play us off for like 20 minutes. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks Julie, thanks Rad, thanks Bolswado, Air Baron C, Black Eagle, everybody who's watching on DLive and YouTube. You guys are the best. We're trying to make learning about esoteric things fun again, which we are going to do it. I'm going to start a kids show. I'm going to start a TV show for children. Well, adults can watch too, but I'm going to try to make this information as easily digestible by as many human souls as possible and teach it to y'all so we can all become masters of our own destiny instead of falling for the same old Zionist bullshit, the same old Jewish tricks that we've been falling for the last 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 75,000 years. 70 goddamn thousand years. I'm talking different planet systems. I'm talking millions of years of wars between good and evil, aka Aryan and Jew, Pleiadian, Reptilian. I mean, these things stretch back way more far than we can possibly think. Don't let anybody, your stupid little normie friends. Oh, bro. The CNN didn't tell me that the hollow earth is real. My church said that the earth is only 5,000 years old. Listen, bro. You have to figure it out for yourself. Because if you don't figure it out for yourself, all you're doing is you're being a lemming, an NPC, a goy. Alright? You're just following along. Whatever some fucking asshole tells you to. So unless you do it yourself, you're fucked. You're always going to be wrong. And that's not always right, because there are a lot of good teachers out there. But you have to use your intuition, your wisdom. And it will help you with that, my friends. But for now, we must go now. Thanks again for watching, you crazy sons of bitches. I will see you on the next episode of The Crystal Crypt. That's right. We out of here. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to play a song that you all know and love. You all know and love this song. It's a good song. I think we all are aware of this song. It's got no copyright on it, so I'm going to play the shit out of it. Woo! See you later, motherfuckers. Peace out, and I'll see you in Atlantis. Work on your dreams. Make sure your dreams are based and you write them down. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Fuck the elite, sucking up our energy and making us weak, polluting our planet while they blame it on weed. Ain't gonna take it, fuck a gun. Confiscation gets the dumb populations to awake for this shit. Not anymore. The internet has opened up a secret door that's been hidden from humanity since way before. All the crystals in Atlantis at the ocean floor, we gone to a different dimension. Up by symbols and purely memetics, where only the soul is in different expressions, and only the boldest will dare to adventure. We gone, never coming back. We gone to the hollow earth. You could try to follow it, but you're already lost. You don't even know what time it is or what time even is. Do not lose your mind, cause it's kinda hard to find again. Everybody knows that reptilians glow in the dark, I'm a blow and it spark. Everyone knows that the CIA glows, so fuck them hoes. As I hop into my UFO, puffin' the dro, hit up the Pleiadian chicks on my phone. Intergalactic is how we gon' roll. Nothing but stars out in front of us now. Spirit of Europe's about to break out. Nothing can stop the momentum of what is awakened. You can't shut it down. Shut it down. Oy vey, shut it down now. Censor and kill anyone who speaks out. So shut the fuck up, go, you better sit down. Yeah, we are the chosen and you are the cows. We rule the world while you slave it out. But not for long, it's a new age full of new rage. And the minds that could lose weight cause it weighs a few million pounds. Yo, who ate all the cookies from the ovens? Like, wow. That was a lot of cookies. Just not enough time. There's not really enough ovens to make them all. I don't get it. It ain't call hate when you love your nation, unless you live in clown world civilization, where up is down and the wrong is right and the war is peace in the Zionist matrix. They thought they had us trapped in the cube, but really they are locked in this box here with you. There is nothing that a motivated human can't do. Take a bite of this shroom and you might learn the truth. We are the knights of the king, bring the fight to his name. Add a little bit of stardust minus the fame, and you wake up from the matrix in amazement like, where have I been? Where have I been? Like, where have I been?